to this week's video, and this week we'll have a look at this painting of depicting St Jerome in his study, painted around 1510, so an early 16th century Italian Renaissance painting by Vincenzo Catena. So first of all, who was St Jerome? St Jerome lived from 347 till 420 after Christ. He was a priest, a confessor, even a theologian, and a historian. He was known for his teachings on Christian moral life, especially to those living in the big cosmopolitan centers and cities at the time, such as Rome. But actually, first and foremost, in the late 4th century, St Jerome translated the Bible from its original Greek and Hebrew into Latin, and that is really sort of the main his main achievement and accomplishment. And in the Roman Catholic Church, he is recognized still nowadays as the patron saint of translators, librarians, and encyclopedists. That is why you see St Jerome always depicted with books around him, scriptures, with the Bible. So the Bible is in essence a collection of 66 books that were written across a period of over 1,000 years, and St Jerome is really very instrumental in that. And what I like about this painting is that here you see St Jerome, his head in his hands, working away and feeling inspired to translate the Bible, and you have the cross at the end of this sort of oversized desk, which is hovering over him, continuing to inspire him to do his work. So the composition of the painting itself, I think the first thing I noticed when looking at the painting is just how clean and tidy the desk is. So in order for him to translate the Bible into Latin, he would have needed that clarity and sort of getting away from the hubbub of Rome, and he went to the desert in order to pray and to meditate. And I think that's sort of shown here by the tidiness of the desk, of him, an allegory in a way for him being in the desert and having peace of mind and not being surrounded by worldly goods in order for him to be able to deliver his work. The second noteworthy thing about this composition are the strong horizontal lines, as you can see, and then also the vertical lines. So it's sort of a sharp contrast between the horizontal and the vertical. But most interestingly, so there's actually only one diagonal line in this painting. And that's sort of quite amazing. And then when you actually look at that diagonal line and what sits on there, you basically have, and I've numbered them here for you for ease of reference, you basically have the arm first of all, which is the actual instrument that God uses through St Jerome for writing and translating the Bible. You then have the actual Bible itself, number 2. Then number 3, you have that cluster of 3 objects, the inkwell, the Bible, the lectern. Number 4, you have that cross, which is on that line. And then ultimately number 5, which is sort of where the diagonal line leads to, is to Rome. And that's presumed to be Rome in the background. So all this work that St Jerome is doing is basically for it to go back into our world in Rome. So again, a beautiful sort of reference. Then when we look more closely at the bottom half of the painting, we see all these references, of which first of all the lion. The lion is there because it often is shown accompanied actually to St Jerome, because it was said that he removed a thorn from a lion's paw in the Judean desert. And so you'll find nearly all of the time when you see paintings of St Jerome that there is a lion depicted with him. The interesting thing about this painting is that the lion is actually showing sleeping, resting, being very content to be in St Jerome's presence. Further in St Jerome's presence, there is also a partridge. Usually there is an owl which gets depicted with St Jerome, the owl for wisdom. But here it's a partridge, which is quite unusual and also quite interesting, because the partridge in Christian art has basically sort of 2 meanings. Meaning one is that it actually represents the church and truth, but it's actually more commonly used in Christian art for representing deceit, theft, and the devil. And as St Jerome would have been working in the desert translating the Bible, this is also a reference to Jesus's time in the desert. Moving further along, you find St Jerome's slippers, and I have to say, for me, this is very, very sweet and probably the most interesting part of this whole painting, because slippers, it shows St Jerome being at ease and at peace with what he's doing, and it sort of invites us as a viewer to step into this painting. And when you look at the whole foreground of the painting, it is a spacious sort of open area awaiting our entry, and there is no framed threshold through which we as a viewer need to step, and all the structures within the image are all designed and built to be welcoming, and I do think that these slippers actually further enhance that sort of welcoming feeling into the painting. And then the last item on the lower half of the painting is the cardinal's hat. The cardinal's hat is not sort of hung in pride on a wall and displayed, but it's left casually on the floor, again sort of a great sign of the humility of St Jerome. Then lastly, let's have a look to the upper section of the painting, and I think the first thing to notice there is the light. The light is striking, and I think it's particularly noticeable on the cupboard doors you're left open during St Jerome's sort of engrossing task. What is very noticeable, I think, is that there are 3 sets of cupboard doors. I think the left pair of cupboard doors is sort of fully open, fully revealing the Bible and the books inside. The second door, which is in the middle, is only 3/4 closed, so there's only sort of a tiny fragment that is revealed. And then the one completely to the right is sort of half revealed. And I do think that probably reflects sort of the stages of revelation of the Bible, and again sort of lovely symbolism that is present in this painting. And by way of conclusion to the video, I'd just like to show some other works by other artists, and I've just sort of illustrated and depicted a few here by Belinni, by Jos van Clever from Flanders. Also Albrecht Dürer in his printmaking did depict St Jerome, and numerous other artists, but probably my favorite one is a painting by Caravaggio, which is in the Galleria Borghese in Rome, a painting from circa 1605, and the light is just absolutely stunning, showing the human skull, the Bible, and basically St Jerome deep at work reading and writing. So I think that's probably sort of my favorite depiction of St Jerome. And yes, all the way through contemporary art as well, St Jerome continues to be an inspiration, and here I'm just showing a recent work from 2012 by Michael Landy. Hope you enjoyed that quote, and hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching, and do visit us online at ChristianArt.Today. Thank you very much for watching.